Hello and welcome to All Things Seniors. This is your host Rafiq. I've been a caregiver for over 20 years, and on this channel, I empower caregivers one episode at a time. Today, we being in February, so close to the Valentine's Day, we thought that we'll talk about what does Valentine's Day mean, especially for those seniors who are isolated, who are by themselves now, they don't have their spouse or life partner with them anymore. And let's see how as caregivers, we can still make this a cherished day for them. So I'll share 4 tips with you today, and tip number 4 is my personal favorite that I have seen caregivers apply and it works really well. So let's dive in. Tip number 1. This starts with first having a conversation with dad. Let's say it's your dad and he will gonna be by himself. So in his mind, maybe he is anticipating a lonely Valentine Day coming up. And if you tell him, Dad, you know what, this Valentine Day in the evening, I have planned that I'll spend some time with you. That is obviously a sacrifice from your end. Or maybe you keep that evening for yourself and plan a night before with your dad. Either way, communicate, let him know that you are planning an evening with him and you will arrange food and you will spend time with him. To begin with, this conversation will start a positive memory, a positive experience in his mind that he's no more anticipating or honestly not looking forward to a lonely evening. Now instead he's anticipating, wow, my family is here, my son will gonna spend time with me. That's a conversation. What will you gonna do? That's tip number 1. You will in a way have a dialogue, have a conversation over that meal, over that evening spending time together, and you'll say, hey Dad, you know what, tell me, for example, what was the best Valentine Day between you and your mom in terms of, whether you were traveling somewhere or, an experience where you attended a concert or something like that. Share that memory with me. And that will allow him to go back into his past, to flash back, having those memories and share with you. It will help you create a new bond. Many a times we caregivers are always in caregiving mode. I think a deep conversation like this will help you create a new bond, create a new connection with your dad that way, and it will really help him to bring those positive memory, to bring that good memory back into his mind. And he'll share with you, we did that travel, or we were, for example, in Paris, or if it was a local Valentine Day, or we went to attend a concert, we went to this restaurant, and you will learn something new about your dad. Maybe if he shares a new city with you that he really loved, or a restaurant that he really enjoyed, that will tell you something about your dad that you didn't know. And maybe going forward in your caregiving life, you will be able to capitalize on that information and make his ongoing years a bit more better. So number 1, cherish with him the older memories of his previous Valentine's Day. That's number 1. Number 2, while you are in this conversation of enjoying prior memories, maybe open up the box of old photos, right? Or play some family videos, if you have saved them, in a CD or a hard drive or on cloud somewhere. Play some older videos and say, Dad, look at this, and that Valentine evening is starting the conversation only from the Valentine Day. It may turn into a family memories evening, and hopefully those good memories coming back, whether those memories are from your childhood with your dad, or if it is one of your uncle that you are taking care of, maybe stories from his childhood, and you will learn something about your family and you will create this new bond and create this new memory with your loved one. So I highly encourage, start that evening with Valentine, but dive into the good memories from family, and just be cautious, just expect that sometimes people also remember some tough memories, right? And just steer away from them, just try to bring it back to the positive memories. Say, hey, you know what, those things happen, but tell me the good things, right? And you will be able to navigate it back, and hopefully you will have a great evening with your loved one. So that was my number 2. Let's go into number 3 now. When you are planning this evening, don't try to make it grand. If you try to make it grand, it will do a couple of harms instead of good. Harm number 1 will be, in your mind, it will feel like that to plan an evening with my loved one, it's a lot of work. And if you have that memory with you in future, if you want to plan something, your mind will say it's a lot of work, and you may not be encouraged by your own mind to attempt something like this. So I would say keep it simple. Whatever you can do easily, take it a notch down. Don't take it 2 notches up. whatever you can easily do, take a further notch down. So for example, if you could cook a meal, order in. Don't cook. Save that energy and your stamina for that evening of conversation, because we all know that caregiving is tough, and many a times good conversation need our active input, right? The other harm it could do is that for your loved one, it could become complicated, right? They may feel that, oh my God, this is too much. A lot is happening. So keep it normal. Keep it what your usual evening may actually sometimes feel like. If you usually have maybe an evening tea or a coffee, that day take it just one notch up and say, you know what, today we'll also have a cookie with our tea, or instead of a snack, today we'll have a light meal. But keep it normal. Don't make it grand. It'll be easier for you. It will not be too complicated for them. It will be more about that ritual of spending time rather than making the day grand. Before I go into my tip number 4, if you are liking this content, like this episode and subscribe the channel. What YouTube does, YouTube will say, okay, caregiver is liking a content, subscribing to the channel. I should show this content to other caregivers as well, and that way more caregivers will be able to take benefit of this. Number 4, during those conversations, it will come up that, oh, that particular neighborhood we grew up, or that was the area I used to go to school, that was the particular restaurant where I used to go with, for example, your mom, in this example. And now you know certain neighborhoods, certain spots that your loved one has great memories associated with. Go on the memory lane drive or a walk, depending upon how far or close it is, depending upon the weather. Take your loved one back to that neighborhood, back to that setting. And I can tell you, many a times our loved ones in their later years, their bodies have become weaker and fragile now, but their brain is still that young kid or a gentleman who had that great Valentine date or a dinner with their spouse or with their loved one at that particular restaurant or that particular neighborhood or that park they went to for a romantic walk. Whatever that setting is, try to bring them back to that good memory setting, that location, that place. And I'm telling you, you will be able to spend some quality time with them. It will not be just caregiving. It will be actually spending quality time with your loved one. And isn't that we all need, right? I don't want to be a caregiver all the time. I really, really want to be able to find ways of spending time with my father as a son. Caregiving comes with it because I'm his son. Caregiving is not the primary role. My primary relationship, it has to be always son. So hopefully these 4 things will help you. I'm sure you have things that you have tried in past by recreating these memories or spending time. What are your go-to things? Write in the comments. I would love to learn from it. I would love to apply that to my relationship with my father, and I will reply back to you. I will say, hey, this worked for me, right? And hopefully more viewers will be able to take benefit from your comments as well. So please do write into the comments what works for you. And as I always say, and I suggest to my caregivers, please do take rest and take care of yourself, because a rested caregiver is a good caregiver. Thank you very much for your time today and watching this. Until the next episode, ciao.